Hi, my name is Alice Toms and I am a research officer at the UK Statistics Authority's Centre for Applied Data Ethics. Today I am presenting submission number 26, Empowering the Research and Statistical Community in the Application of Data Ethics. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the work that the Centre for Applied Data Ethics does. In particular, the development of practical user-friendly guidance, and also why that's important and the value that it can provide within the broader data ethics landscape. The Centre for Applied Data Ethics was established by the UK Statistics Authority in February of 2021 to provide practical support and thought leadership in the application of data ethics by the research and statistical community. The need for a centre which focuses more on the practical application of data ethics was identified in the PACAC report on the governance of official statistics. And so the centre aims to provide a world-leading resource that addresses the current and also emerging needs of user communities. In practice, that means collaborating with partners both in the UK and internationally to develop user-friendly, practical guidance and training and advice in the effective use of data for the public good. Despite data ethics being quite a crowded space in some ways, there is this need for the development of a more practical, applied approach. And so the centre aims to move beyond ethical theory and general kind of ethical principles to provide world-class applied support to researchers, statisticians, and data scientists. So why then do we think ethics is so important? Well, our increasingly digital society provides researchers with more opportunities to maximise our use of data for the public good. So we're able to use an increasingly wide range of sources and data types, methods and technologies to enable us to better inform the public about social and economic matters. And to contribute generally to the effective development and evaluation of public policy. But these methods and uses of data are accompanied by ethical issues, and they really need to be considered. And it's important that we do consider those ethical challenges so that we are better able to reduce potential harm to those involved in our research, to maintain public acceptability around the collection and use of public information, and also to provide new solutions to ethical issues. So to enable and empower researchers and statisticians to maximise the benefits that these new forms of data and methods can bring about, they need to feel confident that they are able to effectively address potential ethical issues in their projects, and that's what the centre aims to do. So the UK Statistics Authority has developed a framework of ethical principles which has been widely kind of disseminated across the research community. There are 6 principles which are public good, confidentiality and data security, methods and quality, legal compliance, public views and engagement, and also transparency. So these provide a framework for researchers to be able to assess their projects, and they're obviously really useful, and they provide the basis for the work that we do in the centre and also the tools that we provide. But the development of more practical applied guidance, which is then targeted at specific user communities, is also really important to ensure that users feel empowered to resolve kind of any ethical issues in their specific uses of data, and also to help them better navigate those theoretical ethical frameworks. So in the case of the UK Stats Authority, these user communities are generally those focused on the use of data for research and statistical purposes, and that spans obviously academia, commercial organisations, and then the public sector. So prior to the launch of the Centre for Applied Data Ethics this year, the UK Statistics Authority provided ethics advice to researchers through two kind of main services. So in 2015, the National Statistician established the National Statisticians Data Ethics Advisory Committee, or NSDAC, to provide independent and transparent advice about the collection, access, use, and kind of sharing of data. NSDAC meets several times a year to discuss the more kind of ethically risky projects which come through the UK Stats Authority. And then alongside this, we also have an ethics self-assessment tool. So this gives researchers a practical process to think about the ethics in their projects. And these are grounded on those 6 ethical principles. So researchers complete that tool themselves with the assistance from our ethics support team, and they are asked to rate their project based on 22 different items, which are all based on those 6 principles, and which you can see on the left-hand side of the slide there. So the project is then given an overall ethical risk score as a result of those scorings, and if the project is seen to be kind of particularly ethically risky, then researchers are given kind of further support and independent advice from NSDAC. So, as I say, the work of the centre then builds on this foundation and the assessment tool and NSDAC. And we're also guided by the UKSA's core principles of being radical in our decisions, ambitious in our actions, inclusive in all that we are and do, and sustainable in our outlook. So to achieve this, we hope to develop the self-assessment tool further, making sure that it meets the need of its users and that it's generally just a bit more user-friendly. And also to continue providing the independent expert advice through NSDAC. We also want to create new interactive online ethics training to empower researchers from across the community to make more informed considerations of ethics in their research design. And we also want to create a new user support function, enabling us to provide specialist ethics user support and expertise to work with researchers and statisticians from across the statistical system to overcome ethical issues at the research design phase. And it is really important that that is at the research design phase. And then finally, we have been and continue to publish guidance on cross-cutting and innovative ethical issues, which researchers can use and apply in their research. And that's kind of the focus for this presentation. And ultimately, all of this will be done and has been done with the researcher in mind and with the overarching aim of empowering the community to be able to apply data ethics within their work. And there's a real emphasis within the centre on being really collaborative and really inclusive, and a huge amount of the work that is being done with the involvement of other groups. So be that groups within government, academia, commercial organisations, charities, etc., etc. So all of the guidance and training that we provide as part of the centre is born out of a need identified by the user community. So we have a button on our website which allows for individuals to request guidance on topics that they think would be useful. And we're also always in constant communication and discussion with researchers and statisticians from all over to ensure that we are producing guidance that is relevant and which is needed. Another big way that we identify these needs, though, is through the self-assessment tool. So from January to June of this year, we received 109 self-assessment forms from researchers. And the great thing about the centre being so integrated with the user support team is that we can kind of identify areas in which researchers either struggle to communicate their research or methods or topics which are being more widely used. And that then allows us to tailor our guidance and our support to them. So we recently asked for user feedback on the self-assessment tool, and we regularly collect metrics relating to the tool so that we can kind of see which areas might benefit from more help and more guidance. So, for example, 51% of the projects we saw through the tool from January to June were wanting to use administrative data, and 59% of self-assessments were wanting to use linked data or were linking data themselves. So this then will be an area that we concentrate on in the future when we provide guidance. And we actually are currently working on guidance relating to the third-party use of data and those ethical challenges. We also recently published some guidance on how to communicate public good within your research, because that was also identified in feedback from the tool as something that researchers found kind of particularly challenging. So as you can see, and I've touched on this already, our guidance is obviously really collaborative, and that's really, really important to us. So we will always develop our guidance with the user at the forefront of our minds. And this slide shows the development process for our guidance. And as I say, this is done through kind of internal metrics relating to the self-assessment tool and discussions with colleagues and the wider user community. And then we then go away and create the guidance, and we'll do that kind of with collaboration with others. So we'll often ask for several rounds of comments and feedback from lots of different organisations or interested parties at a really early stage, so that we can then empower those users and make sure that what we are creating is really helpful for them. So as I say, the whole process is essentially really, really iterative. When we are at a stage where we are happy with the guidance ourselves and we've kind of integrated that feedback back into a draft, we then release the document as what we call an open early draft. So what this means is that all of our guidance is published on our website with the opportunity for anyone who reads it to comment. So even though we collaborate with users when we create the guidance to begin with, we're also aware that there's obviously always room for improvement, and we won't ever be able to talk to everyone with an interest. And so we're always looking for comments and feedback, which we will then kind of integrate into the document at a later date. And that also helps us to evaluate kind of early engagement with the guidance and whether it's being used and whether it's helpful, so that we can then go back and make sure that it kind of really hits the mark. So, for example, we recently published guidance on the ethical challenges associated with geospatial ethics guidance. So this guidance was identified as needed through kind of informal discussions with individual internal researchers who were really keen to see guidance on this topic. We collaborated extensively throughout the creation of the document with kind of internal geospatial colleagues, but also with kind of external geospatial organisations such as the Royal Geographical Society. That guidance was published in May, as I say, as an open early draft. And we also proactively targeted people within the user community for more feedback. We received loads of really positive comments actually on this guidance, which was really, really great. And we recently underwent a review of the feedback and integrated those comments back into the guidance. And obviously we'll continue to do that if and when we receive more feedback. So since the centre launched in February, we've been really busy, and we've published guidance on the ethical considerations in the use of geospatial data, and also considering public good in research and statistics. We're also currently working on several pieces of guidance, including work on machine learning, the use of genomic data, and third-party data use. Topics are obviously constantly being added to the list, and being brought to our attention by researchers and statisticians and data scientists, and so that list keeps changing. And of course, guidance isn't the only thing that we do in the centre. In March, we began to lead the UNECE Machine Learning 2021 Ethics Workstream, and we also published our landscape review. In April, we launched our independent advisory committee, whose aim is essentially to advise the centre on to advise the UK Stats Authority on the kind of direction and the outputs and the impact of the centre. So that committee is formed of experts from government and academia. We're also collaborating with the international ethics community, which to date has involved hosting a survey of other national statistical institutes, as well as an international landscape review. And we've recently held some international kind of initial meetings with organisations working in this space. And so to reiterate, these activities are obviously delivered by the UKSA data ethics team, but more importantly, they're guided by our independent advisory committee, and engagement with international and domestic stakeholders and user groups. And I suppose that's where you come in. So we're always looking for feedback. Can you think of any data ethics issues that regularly arise in your work, or any ethics topics or issues that you think you would benefit from guidance on? And what would that guidance look like to you? What would you like that guidance to include? To date, all of our ethics guidance have utilised checklists, which can help you kind of quickly navigate through each topic. And we often suggest ways to kind of mitigate issues that might arise in the work that you do. But we're also really aware that different people like to see different things. And so if there is anything that you'd like to see in a piece of guidance that will make it easier to navigate those challenges, then please do let us know. And if there is anything that comes to mind, please do get in touch. As I said earlier, you can do this on our website via this button, or as always, you can email the team. So to round everything up, what does this all mean for our users? Well, we want it to empower them. We aim to provide targeted, in-depth practical support to enable our users to address data ethics issues in their work. And we want to provide practical user-friendly guidance, which helps them address current and emerging needs in relation to kind of data ethics. And we want to be responsive to user feedback and make sure that we are really co-creating guidance and outputs, and that the centre activities are as useful as possible to the user community. If you would like to learn anything else about the centre, or if you have any ideas for guidance topics or collaboration, then please do get in touch with us, or visit our website. That's all from me. Thank you very much for listening.